Hello grade 8s and welcome to Linear Functions 1. In this unit we are going to learn how to plot and draw linear functions onto a mathematical graph. It's going to require some new skills, and in this lesson we're going to learn the very basics of how to set up a Cartesian coordinate system and to plot points on that Cartesian coordinate system. Many of you are familiar with using a GPS or using some system of maps to find ways of getting from place to place. These maps use global positioning coordinates, using latitude and longitude to find places. For example, you can find my classroom with these coordinates. In mathematics, we're going to work on a different system. It's the ancestor of the GPS system, and it uses 2D positioning. It's called the Cartesian coordinate system and is named after René Descartes, who came up with it. In geography, numbers and letters are often used together to find things on a map. But in mathematics, we're going to use the two letters we've been working with, X and Y, to make a coordinate. Coordinate, by its very definition, means two things working together. And without the information of both the X and Y coordinate, we wouldn't be able to find certain points and to draw these graphs, or eventually to find things on a map. It's important to note that the X coordinate always comes first, followed by the Y coordinate. And we always put the coordinate in brackets, and in this country we separate X and Y by a semicolon. It's not just enough, though, to have coordinates. We also have to have a system upon which we can plot them. The system we're going to use, as mentioned before, is the Cartesian coordinate system. And in this system, we're going to have two lines called axes, which are going to cross each other at a place called the origin. And this is very important. So this origin is the place where all the numbers are going to originate. So all of the numbers will start from this point. Each line of measurement is going to be called an axis. The one that goes from left to right is going to be called the x-axis. And the one that goes up and down is going to be the y-axis. And it's important, so vitally important, that you remember which axis is x and which axis is y. So from today, just try to remember that y goes up and down and x goes left and right. Now it's time to label these axes and put some values on them so we can plot coordinates that have numbers. We're going to start with the x-axis. Starting here at 0, we're going to count and move away from the axis each and every line. You do not need to label everything. For example, here I'm just labeling every other number. But if you wished, you could label each and every line that you cross from 1 to 14. It's also very important to note that every axis should have an arrow on the end because these numbers go on forever. But we don't have to draw them all. We just need to fit the graph into its place. Moving in the negative direction, again, we start at 0, and it might be hard to think what comes next. But if we remember that number line from primary school, we know negative numbers are going to come here. So counting in the other direction, I'm moving 2 lines, I get -2, then -4. Another 2 lines gets me to -6. And the pattern just carries on, and I keep labeling all of the different points or lines that I'm crossing. Then, for the y direction, we're just going to go up and down and repeat this process. Always remember, at the very center, we have 0. And if I go up, I count positively. And if I go down, I'm just counting negatively. So just try to remember going forward, positive numbers on the right, positive numbers up, negative numbers on the left, and negative numbers going down. Now let's put our knowledge to good use. Let's start by drawing the Cartesian coordinate system, always being sure to label the axes. And what also might help you is to label the positive and negative values of the axes so we number things correctly. Secondly, we should label all of our different axes. When you're labeling, be sure you're counting correctly. For example, 2 must be at 2, and we can't put 4 here. 4 has to be 4 lines away from the origin. We do not need to label the origin as 0, but it's important to remember that it is at 0. So let's try plotting our very first coordinate. If I take this coordinate here, the x value is -3, and the y value is +4. Plotting is very, very easy. We're just going to find the value of x, and then we're going to go up or down to the y value listed in the coordinate. Why don't you pause the video now and see if you can find this coordinate on your own system of axes. All right, here we go. The first thing is we need to find the coordinate for -3. And it's an x-coordinate, so it has to be here on the x-axis. So if I go to the x-axis for the negative numbers, I go back to -1, -2, and -3. So without moving my pen or pencil from there, I'm at -3 for the x. I now need to go to where y is 1, 2, 3, 4. So when I get there, I draw a point. So I've gone back again in the x direction, -3, and then I go up in the y direction to 4. And that is where the coordinate should be drawn. I've since added a label or letter label to this coordinate. And if I'm going to label my drawing correctly, I could label that as point A. Let's try another one now. Pause the video and try to find coordinate B and label it. For this one, I'm going to go over to where the x is 8, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, here's 8. And then I have to go to where y is -2 without moving from the 8, so I go down to -2. I can then label that point B, and I have plotted my coordinate successfully. We can also get letters and numbers in a table, so try plotting these last coordinates. Because I haven't given you some labels, let's call the first one C and the second one D. Pause the video and try these coordinates now. The first one is very, very easy because it's all positive. So I start at the 0, I go to x is 2, then up to where y is 2. And I label point C. Point D is a little bit more difficult though because it's got 0 for x. So we have to actually go where 0 is for x. It means we don't go here to the one side, to the right side, and we don't go to the left side. We stay right on the axes. So we're going to go 0 in the x direction, but we're going to go up 1 to find the y. This is usually one of the hardest new concepts for you to learn, and it's important to note whenever you've got a 0, it just means we don't go left or right if it's x, or if it's y, we don't go up or down. Good luck and happy plotting.